All right, back on MLB Tonight inside Studio 42 with Bill and Sean. They got the bats. I'm going to step back. We'll talk a little Mets offense. You saw the Mets. That was a weekend recap there. And the Mets, it was the third time they've met the Phillies this year. They've won all three series. As a matter of fact, they've won every series except one that they split. It was a 4-game series. But
so they haven't lost a series.
They have not lost. Undefeated, as they say.
There we go.
Undefeated.
I see that.
Buck Showalter, obviously. A new man in charge there with Billy Epler in the front office, but 20-10, Bill.
Right.
And if you watch this team play so far this year, you can see the philosophies even a little bit different than some of the things that we've seen with the Mets in recent years past.
Well, one thing I thought when they started making some moves in the offseason and people they brought in, I thought that this lineup looked really diverse top to bottom, meaning they have different styles of hitting that go on. So it's not like a pitcher can go out there and get the first guy out and then expect to get the second, third, and fourth guys out because they're similar style hitters. I think there are a group of guys that do things differently maybe than the next guy or the other guy in the lineup at a home plate. So I thought it was a pretty good mix, and now it seems to be, it's not a new mentality that seems to be influxed with this team. They don't want to strike out. You know, when your two-strike approach has you second in all of baseball in batting average, that means something to me. Because you know what? If you swing and miss with 2 strikes, you walk back to the dugout, and that means it's a K. So I love the fact that this team seems to be wanting to put the ball in play, peck away, peck away, peck away, and then every now and then somebody will run into one. It's not like they're going up there with, I'm going to run into one, and then we'll go backwards from there. It seems to be they're building towards something, and if they happen to run into one, so be it.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, too, when you watch the Mets, when you have a team that puts the ball in play, that 27 outs becomes a little harder, right? You know, we always say, hey, put the ball in play, put pressure on the defense. Well, that's true, especially late in the games. You've seen the Mets win a lot of games late, right? You've seen a lot of times, that Marte there, a little single to start it. Another ball put in play. Okay, we got first and second. All of a sudden, they come back. Man, they end up winning a big game out there in Philly. So, for me, when I look at this offense, I love that. And you know Buck's bringing that mentality. Hey, guys, come on, 2 strikes. Let's fight. Let's find a way to put the ball in play. What happens when you get to 2 strikes? What's that pitcher trying to do? He's trying to wipe you out with something nasty, right? So, as a hitter, sometimes you've got to shorten up a little bit. You know, even if you choke up a little bit, you see that sometimes with these guys. Put the ball in play, put pressure on the defense. But I love that about the Mets this year. That's why I think when you go back and look at some of the championship teams that we've seen, the Astros, the Royals, all these teams that, hey, man.
Giants even back early.
1 through 9. You got some tough outs in that lineup. When I look at the Mets right now, I say, okay, they may not get a hit in that situation, but they're going to put the ball in play, put the pressure on the defense, then anything can happen.
So you named quite a few World Series winners that we talked about.
Yes.
But also, let's not forget about the Cubs, because when the Cubs were in the playoffs, they struck out near the bottom of the league. They made like a 15-team jump the year they won it. Houston, when they won it, now you can talk about trash can all you want. They went from the most strikeout teams to the least. Boston, when they won it, was like 3rd in not striking out. So the formula for guys like us that have been sitting here talking about this, swinging and missing, swing and miss 3 times and walk back to the dugout when there's a man over on third base, that's not good.
Right.
It's not. You can talk about a strikeout being just another out, maybe if there's nobody on. But if you start putting the ball in play, and I know a little bit of commentaries swirling around the Mets team this year, is they're not necessarily hitting the ball hard. Okay, I'll take a jam shot over the first baseman's head for a knock any day of the week because that's telling me I'm doing something right at home plate where I can actually allow myself to get jammed. I'm letting the ball get a little bit deeper. That's better than flailing at a slider in the other batter's box and trying to be out in front of it. So I love what the Mets are doing. You're stubborn. You put the ball in play. You put pressure on the defense. And if there's guys out there on second and third base, find a way to drive those guys in.
Yeah, let's go, because Jeff McNeil said exactly that. He was quoted basically talking about how his philosophy has changed a little bit and basically said, I'm just trying to hit it where they're not. And that's really all it is. I mean, if they were shifting me last year, I wanted to hit something hard. Just hit something hard. Don't try to beat the shift. Just put a good swing on it now. If they're shifting me now, though, I don't care if I hit it 40 miles per hour as long as it goes to the left side and it gets through. I mean, and that's that's a change in philosophy. I mean, you get caught up in the StatCast type numbers of X and Velo and how hard guys are hitting the ball or how hard this ball went, how hard pitchers are throwing. But bottom line,
find a way.
I mean,
find a way.
Hit them where they ain't.
I like that, and I tell you what, when you talk about that approach, that's an approach. I mean, that's an approach when you go up there and say, okay, in the box, I'm going to take a look how they're shifting me. Okay, they're open on the left side. This guy's giving me something middle of the way. I'm going to shoot it over there, right? And if all those guys...
Pass the baton.
Yeah, pass the baton. So say, then, hey, next up, man, I'm on base. What are you going to do? And they have some thunder in that lineup. I mean, Alonso is not the only guy that can hit the ball at the ballpark. I mean, Lindor's a 30-plus guy. Marte has got some big pop, too. So they have some guys in that lineup that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. But, for right now, the way they're playing the way a championship caliber team plays, Fran. They're putting the ball in play, putting pressure on the defense. They're winning games late. Yep. That's always a great recipe for championships.
When you look at them, too, when the year started, a lot was made, the hit by pitches. And, look, Alonso got hit in his head twice. Francisco got hit in his face once, and that wasn't certainly right-hand submariner throwing it up and in this way. That was just a mistake. But the idea of maybe a little bit of gel, and these guys were all in it together type stuff. You were talking about these guys going up there, that's a plan. They're competing. Right. And I think we lose sight of that from time to time. I think sometimes we want to get wrapped up in such a perfect world at home plate. And yes, if the ball's right there, all the time sitting on a tee, we can probably put the most perfect swing on it. But I think we get caught up in the technique sometimes and we forget to compete.
Yeah.
And I think if we start to compete over technique, I think we have a chance to look at what the Mets are doing. Put the ball in play. Win a game ugly, it's good. Yeah. When you get a W in the column and you're sitting there at 20-10, I don't care if all 20 of them are ugly. That's 20-10, and then the people start feeding on it. They've got a mix. You talked about Alonso, who's not the only one with thumb. Frankie can go 30-30. Yep. Marte can go 30-30. How much fun would that be when you start seeing guys get on base and you steal second? Once again, putting the ball in play puts pressure on defense.
And it's more fun to watch.
You start getting guys on bases and they're running, that even puts more on the defense.
And we're going to go to break, but to your point, if you're going to win a World Series championship, special things have to happen along the way. What happened last week when they were down 7-1 in the ninth, they got 7 runs in the ninth, that's special. They won the game. And they did that by putting the ball in play.
Yep. I think they only had one homer, that whole thing.
Yep.